Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some big news coming out from Russia to share with you. We're going to be talking about Anatoly Antonov. He is the Russian ambassador to the U.S. I've got this report coming out that he has said that Vladimir Putin is ready to retaliate for the Kursk Incursion. Okay, apparently he has put together a plan and he is ready to respond. And we know that a big response is coming. I've been talking to you guys about this. I even brought it up in this morning's video. If you guys watched that regarding the Russian-Ukraine war, I did a huge update this morning. It was about like 40 minutes long or something like that. There was a lot of information packed into that video. This happened to be one of those topics that we briefly discussed, okay? But I want to go into this deeper because we've got some information that this is going to be most likely a major attack on Ukraine. And we know that Russia's not messing around anymore. We know there's going to be a major response coming from this. So he came out and said, Vladimir Putin has formulated a response to the ongoing Ukrainian incursion into the Kursk region, and those responsible for attacking Russia will be punished. Okay, that's what the Russian ambassador to the U.S., Anatoly Antonov, said just yesterday. Okay, so if you guys haven't seen this, if you didn't see the video where I talked about this, I want to show you this just for a moment. This is from Nexta. On X, it says the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine, citing the U.S. State Department, has published a statement saying that Russia will intensify efforts to strike civilian infrastructure and government facilities in Ukraine in the coming days. The U.S. Embassy urges U.S. citizens to depart Ukraine. Okay, so this came out just 2 days ago. Okay, and I talked about this in our update video here. I think it was just yesterday or the day before we discussed this. And I let you guys know that this major alert was put out from the embassy in Ukraine, the U.S. Embassy, warning U.S. citizens to get out if they can. Okay, so we're not going to read this, but I'll leave it up on the screen, and if you guys want to pause your screen and read it for a moment, you're more than welcome to. But, like I said, this is very big news, and we know something big is coming. Now we've got the confirmation from this Russian ambassador to the U.S., Anatoly Antonov, saying that they are going to respond. Okay, so let me go ahead and get this article pulled up, and we're going to go over this briefly as well. I found this on Reuters. Russian ambassador to U.S. says Putin has plan of action for Kursk Incursion. Okay, this just came out today, August 23rd, 2024. It says here, Russian President Vladimir Putin has formulated a response to the ongoing Ukrainian incursion in the Kursk region, and those responsible for attacking Russia will be punished. Russian ambassador to the U.S. Anatoly Antonov said, I tell you sincerely that the president has made a decision. The TASS state news agency quoted Antonov as saying late on Thursday, I am firmly convinced that everyone will be severely punished for what has happened in the Kursk region. Okay, and if you notice here, he says those responsible for attacking Russia will be punished. Okay, so who exactly is involved here? Well, there's a lot of people involved. Volodymyr Zelensky, the entire Ukrainian military, okay, potentially NATO nations, because we know that NATO troops, flying under the flag of a mercenary, fighting on behalf of Ukraine is operating throughout the Kursk region. We've heard of American soldiers being over there and French soldiers that some of them are even disguised as Ukrainians. I mean, I've heard some information about that, but I can't completely prove it. But it's very possible we have NATO troops flying into Russian territory right now. And also, we have NATO equipment moving into Russian territory. So technically, all of NATO is involved. So whenever they say that all those responsible, who exactly is that going to be? We're going to have to find out what that is when this response comes. The comments by Antonov, who did not provide further details on Putin's plans, came after the Kremlin leader held a meeting on Thursday with senior officials, including the governors of border regions, over 2 weeks after Ukraine launched its lightning attack, the biggest incursion into Russia by foreign power since World War II. Antonov, who has served in his post since 2017, also warned in comments published by the RIA state news agency that the U.S. will at some point remove all restrictions on the use of weapons supplied to Ukraine. Okay, so this is very big news as well. Okay, are they going to remove the restrictions for Ukraine to use ATACMS missiles, let's say, for example, British Storm Shadow missiles, French Scalp missiles to start striking inside of Russian territory? We're going to have to see. But he also said here, the current administration behaves like a person who extends one hand and holds a dagger behind their back with another one. Antonov said, describing Washington's recent comments about Kyiv not being allowed to use U.S. weapons for strikes deep into Russian territory as goading. They are essentially laying the ground, look at this, laying the ground for a decision to simply remove all existing restrictions at a certain point without much thought, he said. Okay, so he's saying that the U.S. will, out of nowhere, remove all existing restrictions on U.S. supplied weapons or British Storm Shadow missiles, anything that's long range that has been banned, which are primarily these long range missiles, aka like the ATACMS, for example, that all of a sudden they will just remove the restrictions. And I'm telling you guys, this is a slow boil the frog process, so that way Russia does not respond to something that they would have responded months back to if all of a sudden the U.S. was just like, you know what, go ahead and start striking Russian airfields with ATACMS. Go for it, Ukraine. Then we would have a major response from Russia, right? But if they do this slowly, where, for example, they opened up the incursion into Kursk, then all of a sudden now we've got Sabrina Singh. I reported that guy to you guys this morning. Sabrina Singh, the Pentagon press secretary for the United States, coming out just yesterday and saying that they do not oppose Ukraine using any of their weapons inside of the Kursk region and also the Sumy regions. Okay, so what does that indicate? That yes, we are moving that direction. I'm telling you guys, it is going to come at some point where all of a sudden the U.S. will be okay with Ukraine firing ATACMS missiles, British Storm Shadow missiles, Scalp missiles into Russian territory, targeting military airfields, 200, 300, 400 kilometers away, assuming that some of these missiles can make it that far, that we will start seeing lots of airfields coming under attack once the U.S. decides to do this. So it says the United States has provided Ukraine with more than $55 billion worth of military aid since 2022, but has limited the use of its weapons to Ukrainian soil and counterfire defensive cross-border operations. Kyiv has said it has used U.S.-made weapons in Kursk, including glide bombs and HIMARS rocket system. Yes, that's been confirmed over the last 48 hours. We already know HIMARS rockets have been flying into the Kursk region. Many of them fitted with cluster munitions, bombing these pontoon bridges that are being constructed near the Glushkovky district. We talked a lot about that. Also, glide bombs being used and dropped all over the Kursk region, destroying, dozens of Russian troops at a time. I've seen lots of video footage coming out of that online on X. Also says Washington has not commented directly on the use of U.S.-made weapons in Kursk region, but has said that U.S. policies have not changed and that Ukraine is defending itself from Russia's invasion. Okay, so like I said, we had Sabrina Singh already come out and report that it was okay for Ukraine to use U.S.-supplied weapons inside of the Kursk region. That's why we saw HIMARS flying into there. And also, potentially we could see ATACMS at some point. I think right now, the ATACMS will mainly be used on Crimea, which we have seen a lot of that in the past. But very possible at some point, once we see the U.S. coming out and saying it's okay for them to start doing this, we're going to have some big problems over here in this war, in my opinion. I think this war is going to get very crazy and out of control. And let me call it right now, I would not be surprised if this next restriction when they decide to ease restrictions on these U.S.-made weapons for Ukraine to fly into Russian territory. I would not be surprised if this comes after this retaliation event happens, when the Russians decide to retaliate, start bombing civilian infrastructure all over Ukraine, start bombing government buildings, start bombing Kyiv. That's when Ukraine might be like, you know what, we just came under a massive attack right now. You need to give us the ability to go after all these airfields because they just destroyed this, they destroyed that. Our country is devastated. We need help. We're in a dire situation. Something like that could definitely happen. I'm not saying that it will, but hypothetically speaking, I think it's very possible we could see that. Also considering this report coming out saying that Russia is ready to retaliate and they are going to hit Ukraine hard, okay? They are not okay with this Kursk offensive opening up, and we know that Vladimir Putin is very, very upset right now. So I hope you guys got something out of this update, though. I just wanted to share some of these details with you and let you know what's going on with Russia. But expect a major attack onto Ukraine very soon, and I would not be surprised if they carpet bomb or just destroy the Kursk region where the Ukrainians are at right now as well, considering as well that Anatoly Antonov also came out and said that anybody involved in this incursion will be destroyed, okay, will be severely punished. So expect them to be attacked at the same time. But let me know what you think down below. Share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down in the comment section. That's going to be it for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. With that, I hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.